Hello, I'm Drake. Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real, metaphysical, and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, we're going to be continuing our Goetia series with the 42nd spirit of the Goetia, Vepar. Okay? Now, before we get into this, however, I want to encourage everyone, A, if you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you're notified anytime we release a new video or we go live. We go live every Sunday with Magical Coffee Hour. But more importantly, I would encourage you to head over to workingdragonmystic.com or in the description box below and check out our online community. It's a free community. You can join up over there. We got a lot of great people who are sharing information, sharing experiments, sharing knowledge, helping one another grow, problem solving in each other's practices by request, not meddling. And of course, if you want to support the channel, it is the best way to do it because there is an area over there for supporters only, with supporter only content, perks, monthly spell workings, custom spell workings that they request, and even access to the online school area for some of the courses are included as part of the supporter perks. And of course, we do have an online school. Again, you can find that at workingdragonmystic.com as well as in the description box below. All right, with that said, let's get into this, shall we? Today we are covering Vapar, the 42nd spirit of the Goetia. Now you know we're going to be doing these in order, and we just kind of run through some of the bullet points of the most known associations and the like. In the Goetia, Vopar is actually said to appeareth like a mermaid. It doesn't give us a lot more details, but it does say mermaid. It actually say he appeareth as a mermaid. There is some debate and arguments over the gender of this spirit. Again, this is a spirit, it's not a physical entity. I'm going to say gender is kind of a irrelative point. Um, though I do traditionally say that most of the spirits do seem to manifest in a masculine way. This is one where I don't ever recall a masculine interpretation, manifestation for me, this one does actually come up in the more feminine side. She would probably be a good way to refer to it. I actually found myself when I'm typing out the stuff, I was typing he. I don't know if that's out of repetition and habit or what. I don't know, or if it's just because, I am kind of thinking back to the associations and the records and stuff from books in the past. I don't know. It's weird because I was trying to think back to my rituals and um, I don't know how I use the association. I even went to my journals. Last time I worked with this entity and put it in my journal, I never used he or she in any part. I kept saying the entity, the spirit, or Vapar. So I don't know where I stand, I guess. Because when I say I don't know that, like to me, like I said, I view this one shows up feminine. That's usually how I think I refer to it, but I don't know what my gut instinct is because when I look at my journals, it's just there's no reference. And then when I was writing this out, it was coming up he, and that was kind of weirding me out. Um, so maybe my brain's just it's a spirit. It can go either direction. I don't know. Um, But I would actually say with a spirit, the he or she thing, I don't really think it's that important. Um, so, Associations. Obviously, in the Goetia, Vapar is represented or as the rank of Duke. The metal most often associated with this spirit is copper. The planet often associated with this spirit is Venus, which actually makes a lot of sense when we get down into here. Color most associated is green. And element most associated is water. Again, that one makes absolute sense to me in every way. And some people have messaged me saying, Drake, your rankings, metals, planets, and colors seem to line up pretty well. Like a Duke is usually all the stuff's going to be the same of all the Dukes. And yeah, I think you're right. I absolutely do. I think that is some of the carryovers from traditional Goetic lore and stuff. I think the metals and everything were associated in a way that they matched up with the ranks. At least in most cases. I could be wrong though. Um, All right, areas in which this entity can help. Like, why are we going to work with the spirit, right? The whole idea here is we're going to be attempting to work with the spirit, maybe learn a thing or two while we do it. And you know what? Before we get into this, let's go ahead and get the sigil up on the screen. I'll make sure it's right here somewhere. All right, you see? This one actually is a tricky one to draw, for me. It kind of is. So I am definitely always going to be either tracing or printing this one out. Just I'll be honest with y'all. For you artistic folk, draw it. I wish I could draw. That's all there is to it. Let's be honest. All right. So the original purpose of this entity, in the Goetia is stated along the lines of an entity who can control ships and water and also cause person to die from putrefying wounds and sores. Ugh, nasty. That don't sound nice at all. Um, Great. And that's pretty straightforward. Now, in talking with magicians and my personal workings, the ways that we have found that this entity can, I don't know, you'd say better off work in modern times. Um, Hands down, it can cause disease in a named person. That is something that we have seen used before. I don't personally use that one, but I know a lot of people who have used it and claimed good results. I am unable to verify the results. So that's something to keep in your back pocket. Maybe, I don't know. Can help cause fear that is overwhelming to those who are arrogant. Okay. So you can create an overwhelming sense of fear in an arrogant individual. That can have a lot of benefits, really. It really can. Because if you can get that overwhelming fear, you can cripple somebody. And if you can cripple an arrogant individual emotionally, if they've become a problem in your life for some reason, that will absolutely help you to deal with them, or even remove them from the board, as it were, if you're in a competing situation for a job or promotion, or even they're just an arrogant bully. Like you can actually make sure that they end up terrified of you or life in general to the point where they stop being a bully. Um, and of course, strengthen you before undertaking of a long journey. That's there. And there's also help controlling of waters and weather. Okay. More specifically, storms, not just all weather, it'd be rain and storms. Okay. I should put that in there to get specific. Which is definitely in line with this particular entity. Now, um, this entity, this is one that I have worked with, and I worked with a lot, but it's also one where though I've worked with them a lot, it's not one I go to often because when I am working with this entity, it's in a manner that is to either reduce floodwater damages, kind of hold back floods, or prevent them if possible, that kind of stuff, to ease storms and hurricanes and stuff like that, or the damage caused by them, if at all possible. Those are areas where I would work with this entity. But actually, hands down, the number one area in which I work with this entity, because if I'm dealing with weather or other things, I like to work with dragons that can maintain the balance by doing it, and help to avoid a little bit of that snapback rubber band effect. Because you tinker with weather, there's a snapback. There's no way to avoid it. So I do tend to prefer working with dragons in those cases. But one area where I have worked with this entity a lot, and I know a lot of people who do work with this entity in the same way, is in tidal currents and safe travel for ships. Very much, at least also the U.S. Navy. Like many of you know, my wife is active duty, and we have a lot of friends and family that are active duty, and I'm always big on helping the troops either way. So when it comes to safe harbor, safe travels for those ships, I definitely do that. And the times I do it most, it's when my wife has to deploy, point blank. That's why there are big gaps between when I work with this particular entity. That's just how that is. As for some of the other stuff, like I said, the cursing, the wounds and sores, that I don't really use it. I've never tried to work with this entity in that constraint, so I can't say one way or the other. The fear aspect I have tinkered with a time or two. There's been plenty of people in my life that had enough arrogance and stuff to warrant a tinker with that. And honestly say I've had pretty good results actually. One of the results actually ended up in the individual completely withdrawing from a certain competition, and they didn't talk to anybody for a couple months, weirdly. And then next thing we knew, they moved. They left the state. Not the not the town. They didn't just move the neighborhood. They left the state. It was a little interesting. I never was able to confirm why they moved, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it or anything like that. My goal was to attempt to get them to do poorly at the competition. But they withdrew, so maybe that the withdrawal was part of it. I was unable to confirm, unfortunately, anything as to the hows or whys. It wasn't a competition I was in. It was another competition. I was fully aware this person was cheating and using some dishonorable methods of attempting to win, so I didn't mind that. I generally don't use magic in competitions I enter. It's just a personal thing for me. I want if I win, I want it on my own merits. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Very straightforward. Um, well, I could say one other thing is I have used this entity to give me good currents, good tides, and good weather to go fishing. And I've had some pretty good days fishing thanks to Vepar. And outside, um, safe ship travel. Perhaps the number one use I have found for this one is good fishing trips. Um, You could probably use it hunting. Good weather for hunting, possibly, maybe, depending on where you're hunting. If it's desert, probably not going to help. But and I don't know how far inland either. That would not be another case of it because when I was in Kentucky, I did some experiments with the spirit, and since the we weren't really coastal, there wasn't a lot of water. I'll admit the results were kind of shit. This is an entity that definitely is um a water-faring style entity. That mermaid shape really does play extremely prominent. So if you don't have a good lakes or rivers or an ocean, it seems to diminish the areas that this thing can actually help, this entity, Vapar. And I would even go so far as rivers aren't really that good. Like you need a big river. Like where I come from, we had creeks. A little piddly old creek, even if it's deep, not good enough in my experience. But like a good sized river, some where you can go catch some good catfish, Mississippi River is a great example. Absolutely a river that would count as a body of water with enough juice that Vapar would work in. In fact, when I was down in Tennessee, we got to play around with this entity down by the Mississippi, and we got results. So it seems to need to be a deep, substantial body of water. Um, so lakes and oceans, absolutely. And of course, large rivers, those will work. I was asked a question once in a talk I was doing, what about man-made lakes? And honestly, the only thing I can say is I'm not 100% sure. I've been able to use this entity around man-made lakes and man-made lakes that support life, fish, wildlife, and the like. I've gotten results. I have. There are a few man-made lakes where, well, they don't support life. Honestly, they really don't. I've not really gotten good results, if any, there. But I've also not been able to do a lot of experiments there. So that's something you'd have to test out on your own a little bit with this spirit. All right, there we go. That is the 42nd Spirit of the Goetia Vapar. And everyone, thank you again. I hope you guys are enjoying the series as much as I am. I will get to work on getting more of these up. I know there's been a bit of a delay here or there, but we're going to try and start cranking these out a bit more. I may even try to get a few of them back to back just to catch us up a little bit because I know a lot of you are looking for your favorite spirits, which unfortunately are further down the numeric count. I know some of mine are. So we just got to wait until we get there. All right. And again, go check out the online community. Say hi to me over there. I'm always over there, always available. Easy. That's the best way to contact me, hands down. The members are amazing. All right. And you can find those links in the description box below. All right. You guys have an amazing week. Take care. Bye bye.